Just a reminder, flash photography is not permitted during tournament competition. Brethren, we are ready to begin. Bowlers at the sound of the bell may begin. Good luck and good morning.
All right, folks, welcome back to BowlTV. This is Matt Canizaro alongside Aaron Smith, and we're live here at the El Paso Convention Center, the 2015 USBC Open Championships. We're here today to watch the defending regular doubles champs, the father-son duo of Clark and Carl Poelzer. They took home the title last year in Reno, Nevada with a 1465 total, and they're back on the lanes today to put that title on the line. A little bit of nerves, a little bit of excitement, but they are ready to go here, and we are underway. Also on this pair today, Terry Halita, Dave Bortson, Kurt Henke, and 2006 regular all events champ Dave Marshall. So a very talented group here. And of course you see, Dave Mitchell. Of course you see the three Eagles up on the scoreboard here. And that signifies a win here at the USBC Open Championships. The Poelzers marched down center aisle last night for the first time as champions. They received their championship watches, and then they got to come out and see those Eagles on the scoreboard next to their names for the very first time. Here's the first shot for Carl in 2015. He goes Brooklyn, leaves a 5-pin. Definitely some nerves out there. Talked to them earlier. But hopefully Mr. Mitchell was able to offer some advice to them as far as coming back and being in the spotlight. Here's Clark with his first shot of doubles here in 2015. Better shot goes high, but trips the 9. So things are underway. Both gentlemen took advantage of the showcase lanes here to get comfortable. They said they had a great game plan for the team event last night. Maybe didn't execute as well as they'd hoped, but a new day today, new pattern. Right now the 38-foot doubles and singles pattern, and they're excited to see what they can do here in 2015. Aaron Smith, how are you today?
Doing well, Matt, and yourself?
We're doing all right, and we've been waiting for this for some time, and you had the pleasure of chatting with the Poelzers late night last year after they took the lead. Very exciting father and son combo, and they were lucky enough to be in town yesterday during doubles when Greg Engelkist from Iowa rolled a 300 game in the first game of doubles. He was bowling with his father, Joseph. And Clark got a little bit emotional watching those two try to make a run at the double standings this year. They came up a little bit short, just missed the top 10 at 13.05. Of course, 13.72, the number on top here in 2015. But Clark said just being able to share that experience with his son, and to see Joseph and Greg be able to share that yesterday, whether or not they took the lead or won or even came close, just the opportunity to bowl with your son, one that sometimes you can't find the words for. And then of course for Clark and Carl to come in last year and find the success they did. I'm sure that when you chatted with them after they took the lead, probably a lot of emotion going through both of them and probably their teammates as well. What do you think?
Certainly so, Matt. Those guys bowled the very late squad last year, so it's correct. I did have to wake you up to let you know of the good news. Those guys really were in a good position after 2 games, and the score leading at the time was 14.03, belonging to Scott Pohl and Mike Rose Jr., who are currently leading regular team this year. And those guys just flew by that number, 1465, and they survived a few close calls throughout the year, but no one was able to reach that number. But certainly an emotional thing. Carl a little more soft-spoken than his father, Clark. Clark, a very proud dad at that moment, and to be able to have the one thing that was kind of missing from his career happen with his son was just a very special moment for the family. So it was exciting to watch, and hopefully they have some of the same excitement saved up for this year as well, and hopefully lane 17 starts working. So we have a brief delay as we get underway. While we got a minute, we'll take a look at yesterday's scores. Clark and Carl actually bowled on opposite teams. Carl's team came out a little bit ahead, 28-70 overall, Visionary 2, featuring Jason Smith, Robert Wolf, Dave Mitchell, and Jeff Walther. Carl himself put up a 592. Jason Smith led the way 604 for Visionary 1, 28-51, not too far behind. Terry Halita led the way 626. Clark a few pins behind 621. They were joined by Jeremy Steffen, David Bordson, and Kurt Hankey. And while we have a minute, we also like to recognize some folks we know tuning in from Minnesota. Todd Wallen and Alon Weiss, big supporters here, and guys wanted us to give them a shout out, so we appreciate it, and thanks for tuning in. So first look at Clark in lane 18. The seasoned vet looking comfortable already.
Well, certainly the scores leading this year, possibly just a little bit less intimidating than last year's 1,400 plus number they had to shoot at. But I think Clark has been around long enough to understand the challenge associated with this year's laning condition. And they don't want to be fooled by the numbers. A lot of great bowlers have come through already. And to see 1372 on top of the leaderboard certainly can be confusing, maybe a little false confidence. Who knows when you come out and see that, but certainly a number that many feel is attainable, and that has to definitely help go out there and have the arm swing a little bit looser. So we will certainly see as things unfold here, but so far so good. Pair of strikes for Clark and 2 spares for Carl.
Nice shot for Kurt there, starting off with 3 in a row. Maybe a little more game 1 excitement like yesterday. You already mentioned Gregory Engelkiss starting his doubles event off with 12 in a row. Only the 4th one we've had all year, so they tend to come in bunches. So we will see if that continues to be the case.
Got some potential guests to come into the booth today as well. I believe that almost everybody from Minnesota is headed this way at some point this week, but a couple solid teams already in the building and in the bleachers right now. That includes our 2010 regular doubles champs, Steve Bone and John Cryer. And those guys are always excited to be back on the lanes, of course, and they've been in the same position as Clark and Carl right now. And in their title defense, we actually had some excitement on the live stream. Unfortunately, it wasn't them. That was when K&K came out and bowled absolutely amazing in doubles and singles, and good enough that we turned the cameras on them during singles. So once the doubles defense was done, we got to see and talk about the team all events number, which ended up being the winning score back in 2011. So you just never know what's going to happen once you turn on these cameras. And we also have Chad Nelson in the building. He bowled a 300 game with us back in 2011. We had them on the live stream, Dan Bach and the guys. So another talented group. And of course, Sam Lanto, one of Minnesota's best, headed into the USBC Hall of Fame later tonight. And then he and his teammates, that includes three-time champ Matt McNeil, will be headed this way. We'll have them on BowlTV later in the week. So we'll go from Champions Week to Longevity Week now to celebrating Minnesota here at the 2015 USBC Open Championships.
Yeah, this is our last defending champion of the year coming in. So April has certainly been busy. A lot of live streams, a lot of cool moments along the way.
Just yesterday, we got to ring in 60 years with Dick Rice from Platteville, Wisconsin, and he celebrated that milestone by knocking down his 100,000th pin here at the USBC Open Championships. Became the 16th member of the 100,000 pin club. So congratulations to Mr. Rice. And he said, as he was filling out his questionnaire, he got down to the part where it asked if you have any Open Championships titles. He kind of chuckled a little bit. While he's been here 60 years and knocked down so many pins, that is one thing that has eluded him in his career. But he laughed and he said, well, you never know. So maybe down the road for Mr. Rice, that coveted eagle coming his way. We will see. He's looking forward to number 61 next year in Reno. And we'll look forward to having him back after a back surgery. Should have him at 100%. He was using a one-step approach similar to our friend Mr. Bill Lillard, who had some knee problems and came in and broke the all-time pinfall record.
Certainly best.
Well, I was going to say, with just one step and a very inspirational performance.
Yeah, certainly sending out our best wishes to Mr. Rice and a quick recovery to get back on the lanes. Carl's trying a little bit of everything right now to find the right look here to kick off. He led the way with 761 last year. Clark adding in 704. To get to their 1465 winning total.
So some folks curious about this year's lane condition, and I believe I might have misspoken earlier. The doubles and singles pattern, 39 feet in length, and you can find the graphs and the descriptions on bowl.com. Just go to bowl.com/openchamp, click on the lane conditions tab, and you'll see that there. Very colorful and helpful, and it is the team pattern that is 38 feet. They bowled on that last night. Volume a little bit heavier on this doubles and singles pattern as well. And always folks curious about the equipment being thrown down the lane, and rightfully so, but from our vantage point, a little bit challenging to tell what exactly is being thrown. And up until that point, strikes were being thrown for Clark Poelzer, but his run comes to an end at 3 with a flat dime on lane 18. But with the Minnesota contingent here in the bleachers, perhaps they'll be able to offer some insight on the equipment as they are a little bit closer and perhaps more comfortable going down to find out. So,
you know, last year Clark and Carl were throwing some visionary stuff. We actually see that on their shirts, so that might be the brand of choice. But once again, from our vantage point, a little tough to tell. Clark takes care of the single pin, making his 39th tournament appearance.
So maybe one of our faithful viewers will show up at the Open Championships this year with some binoculars for us, and that'll certainly make things a little bit easier. Otherwise, well, just enjoy the entertainment of it all and the witty banter, of course. Back-to-back 10 pins for Clark, and Carl still without a strike here in 2015.
As we mentioned, a few teams in 2014 made a run at that 1465 number, and none closer than Devin Bidwell and Chris Drews. Who I believe ended up 2 pins short when it was all said and done. Matt, I know you were there that day.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a single pin missed at one point. It wasn't at the end, but certainly they could have gotten there, and a few things didn't go their way. They made a great run. 2 talented players, and no doubt, as we've seen, that will just be more motivation coming into this year, and we'll see some of those guys in July. John Zerbinski will be back on the lanes, and Chris Drews part of that group. I'm sure not positive, but Devin possibly be joining them again. So we'll have that for you as part of the live stream schedule this year on July 4th. If you're curious about what else is coming up in between, definitely visit bowl.com/openchamp. Click on the information tab, and we'll have the live stream schedule there at the bottom of the menu. That covers the women's championships as well, as Aaron will be headed that way next week to bring you some top teams from the WC in Reno.
It's true. I'll be flying out in 7 days. I'm getting out of here. Then I'll come back, I promise. folks, just a reminder, we appreciate everyone tuning in, but please don't forget about Lucas Wiseman, also on BowlTV today as well in Omaha for the USBC convention. There'll be a few events going on, actually one going on right now, I believe. The annual meetings are taking place. Certainly the exciting one coming in a little bit later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, the USBC Hall of Fame inductions. So be sure to look out for that. Coming up later tonight from Omaha, Nebraska. Clark bounces back after the single pin miss in the fifth frame.
Not a bad crowd for a Wednesday afternoon with a lot going on in the bowling world. Aaron, as you mentioned, annual convention happening. Looking forward to seeing what comes out of that and all the different things earmarked as a future for the sport. I wonder how many folks are at convention right now with the headset in one side, maybe watching this broadcast.
Watch Kurt Hankey throw 6 out of the first 7.
Once again, 1372, the number on top. Jeremy Sonnerfeld and Tom Woodworth from Sioux Falls. That number's been up since early March.
It's also survived a few close calls. There's a 1370 in the books as well. It's a great shot there by Carl. Getting comfortable on lane 18, still needs to figure out 17, but yeah, that number still holding on. For the best look at that doubles and singles pattern, outside checking out some of these BowlTV broadcasts to see how folks are attacking the patterns. Be sure, if you're heading to El Paso in the upcoming months, spend some time at the Bowlers Journal Championships presented by USBC over on the showcase lanes. Got the same install, the same oil pattern, the same oil machine. Everything's pretty much identical, so that's the best opportunity to put together a game plan and maybe even take home a little bit of prize money as well while you're at it.
I think everybody likes prize money.
I'm not familiar with it, to be honest with you. So.
And for those of you headed this way, you're welcome. I donated to the prize fund the other day, so there's a little bit extra in there for you, courtesy of Matt Canizaro.
I'm sure those folks will appreciate it, Matt. Doubles is actually the only event I might cash in this year, or Probably definitely the only event I'll cash in this year, so. Be a nice change of pace to actually see a check of my own instead of everyone else's.
Looks like you found the right partner to carry you, so that's always part of the strategy.
Actually, a new partner in new team as well, so. Well, with the kid making his first appearance here at the Open Championships, and bowling with me apparently not intimidating enough, so.
Well, maybe he was able to fly under the radar with all the autograph seekers over on your side of the lane.
It's true, it was hectic. I appreciate you kind of policing that and making sure it didn't get out of hand. So,
well, I know you do the same. I want you to be able to concentrate as you set the bar for the media department and for the Poelzers. They came in, and the first thing they did after saying hello is ask me how you bowled this year, so they knew what numbers they were shooting at, besides, of course, the 1372 in doubles.
I think they'll be all right. Gonna give them the benefit of the doubt.
Do appreciate everybody stopping by, and thank you to our gold partners, Columbia 300, Hammer, Storm, and Kegel, for making all of this possible and playing such a big role in our fantastic venue here in El Paso, our first visit to the Sun City in 112 years of history. A fantastic 52-lane venue here, 10 showcase lanes. Of course, the world's largest mobile scoreboard. If you're not already planning to join us in El Paso, there's still time. Entries open until July 11th. So put a team together or come on out, check out the subboard. You don't want to miss an opportunity to see a great build and a great city. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those into the chat. We'll be glad to answer what we can, and whatever we can, we'll make something up. You can also find us on Facebook. A lot of good stuff this week on the official Open and Women's Championships Facebook page. Also, some behind-the-scenes stuff on my personal page, Matt Canizaro, USBC. And, of course, you can find us on Twitter. Had some interesting new followers in the past couple days, and we appreciate all the support at USBC Matt and at USBC Aaron. So definitely check those out. Then you can have all of this wit 24/7 instead of just waiting for the next live stream broadcast.
That's terrifying. I see Clark's already made a ball change here, and seems to be working as he sets up the foundation frame with a double. If he doubles in the 10th, these guys will be off to a nice start. Saw some work to do to regain that top spot in the leaderboard. Lon Weiss joining us in the chat room. Wanted to give a big shout out to Jason Smith, actually bowling on the pair to our right. He's got a pretty good game going so far. He still has 215 out there. Got the first strike in the 10th. Scanlad and Todd Wallen, those guys wanted to give you guys a shout out, so wanted to thank you for everything, and of course we appreciate the support here on BowlTV. Kurt currently having no problems on this 39-foot doubles and singles pattern on the fresh. That one gets a little bit right, but 260s, still not a bad start. All right, 266 for Hankey in the opener. Get them to 409. Not the 10th frame Clark was hoping for, working on double. Carl able to pick him up though, gets a double of his own.
Aaron, it wasn't long ago these gentlemen took the lead in doubles, had the long wait to get that phone call in July, And then before they knew it, back on the lanes, and game one already in the books. Clark Poelzer 202, Carl 192. So a 394 start and a lot of work to do the next two games if they're going to find their way back to the top of the standings. 1372, the number they are chasing. And Clark said simply they just wanted to have a good performance. They know the challenges of getting back to the lead and taking home back-to-back titles. But a respectable run in 2015 is all they can ask for. And so far off to a decent start, but definitely an uphill climb at this point.
Well, last year on their way to the title, certainly wouldn't say a slow start for them. They came out of the gates plus 52. But second and third game was really where they shined. Carl went 254 in game two, Clark 248, and then 269 for Carl in the finale. Clark adding 242, so we'll see if they're saving their best for last once again.
Like Aaron Smith's gonna step out here for a few, and if we can get this headset situation worked out somehow, we're gonna invite in 2010 doubles champ John Cryer. For now, game two underway. Great start by Kurt Hankey. 266. And the only other 200 on the pair, Clark Poelzer. All right, so we're joined now. John Cryer, welcome.
How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing all right. How are things in Minnesota?
Okay, getting warmer.
Getting warmer. It seems like everybody fled the land of 10,000 lakes because everywhere I look, Minnesota folks and some great bowlers. So certainly we're going to have our hands full the next couple days, I'm sure.
Yeah, we a lot of the Minnesotas usually travel out around this time of the tournament. Of course, always try to make our statement as Minnesota bowlers out here and what we can do and what we're capable of.
Well, I figured you guys would want to get out when it's Arctic up that way, but maybe not. Maybe there's other things to do besides stay inside and stay warm.
Yeah, a lot of it right now. Minnesota Wild, indoors. Hockey, state of hockey.
Well, we know some of your friends from up that way have come through already and had some success, of course. We saw Chad Oakes roll the first 300 game of the 2015 event. And then Scott Endersby from Waite Park coming in, taking the singles lead from Chad at 785. I'm sure that's in all of your travels through Minnesota. These are gentlemen you're probably familiar with.
Absolutely. Yep, I know them well, both.
And have you had a chance to chat with either of them post-performance here at the Open Championships?
I haven't been able to talk to Chad Oakes yet. It was actually very, very superb bowling by him. The score he put up was pretty good, pretty awesome. And then I have had a chance to talk to Scott since he's came back into town, and he said it took him a while for it to finally set in, and the accomplishment that he has made so far, and the phenomenal bowling that he's done. And once he sent me Facebook messages once it finally settled down, and he still is in surreal about the whole thing. yeah, he was very, very pleased with it. So he's, of course, is on the leaderboard with more bowling to go. He's always hoping that it holds on, but 785 on this type of pattern is very, very good.
Well, we've definitely had some close calls, and some guys have been able to string some strikes, but Scott still holding tough there in the number 1 spot. And Chad, of course, looking forward to potentially remaining in the top 10 as well. I'm sure you guys will have something to say about that. But you've had your practice session on the showcase lane, so already took advantage of one of the opportunities here. And how did that go for you guys?
It went really well. We've been practicing for about 6 weeks back home. Since the patterns came out, we had a lot of guys doing our homework, doing some research, everything from where, what the pattern's offering, ball surfaces, ball selections. We've been working really hard on that. So we made our guesses on what we wanted to come out here to El Paso with, and we did have our practice session. So we got a good game plan on what we're going to do, what we're going to try to, how we're going to attack the lanes tonight. We bowl at 5 and go from there. I've also bowled the Bowler's Journal as well, just to get my feet wet, see what it's like, and did okay, very, very respectable. So just bowling well, getting the feet wet and ready to see what we can do.
All right, well, right now we're watching our defending regular doubles champs, Clark and Carl Poelzer from Arden Hills, Minnesota. And John, you were in their position not too long ago as the defending champions, coming in back in 2011. And you had the chance to walk down center aisle that year and look up and see your banner up in the rafters and see the Eagles on the scoreboard for the first time. And now they get their championship watches presented at center aisle, so a lot of excitement surrounding that. Talk about your experience back in 11 as far as coming in and what that was like as the defending champs and all that surrounded it.
Oh, it truly is a lifetime experience. It really is. Everything from when we first posted the scores back in 2010, the feeling was awesome, and then it truly does take a while for it to finally sink in and for the accomplishment that you've done. And then, of course, when the tournament is over, knowing that we won was unbelievable. And coming back in 2011, the feeling was just unbelievable. Coming back and seeing the banner, and it was just unbelievable. It was really, no words could really explain it. I actually had the opportunity. I came out and bowled the Masters in Reno in 2011 when the banner was already hanging up, and bowling against the best in the world, and you got a banner hanging above them. It's that's pretty awesome. And then, of course, after that, trying to come back and defend. We didn't bowl too bad. It's extremely difficult to try to defend your title. But, every year you come out and you give it your best.
All right, well, these guys, they had certainly had some time in between. They had their presentation yesterday. They saw everything and, of course, saw those Orange Eagles for the first time. And I think it all got to sink in a little bit. Team event last night, they said it could have gone a little bit better, but they had a good strategy, just maybe didn't execute as well as they'd hoped. But then to come in today, and you just get 6 minutes of practice, and then all of a sudden, you're the defending champs, and it's on the line. What advice do you have for them at that point? I mean, there's such a long process from when you said taking the lead. It's a roller coaster, of course, waiting through all the close calls, waiting for that phone call, and then, of course, the minute that it comes through, it's a brief celebration. Then all of a sudden, I'm sure you're thinking about, how do we make it 2 in a row? What do we have to do? How do we practice? When do we start? But what advice did you have for them coming into this doubles and singles event?
I had a chance to talk to Clark before they stepped on the lanes today, and advice that, he kind of asked me a little bit, the feeling and things like that. And all I'd mentioned to him was, just take it one shot at a time. It's not an easy pattern out there. It is very challenging, and the best thing you can do is take it one shot at a time. If the pins fall your way, take your breaks and run with it. And if you leave something that's pretty far apart, get the best count you can and Clark is a very, very, very experienced bowler and a very good bowler as well. And he'll know when he's out there. He knows that he's been a past champion and defending champion, but he'll be concentrating on one shot at a time. And for his knowledge that he has, he'll be executing quite well.
All right, well, we saw their first game, 394, 202 for Clark and 192 for Carl, and number on top, 1372. Certainly a little bit less intimidating, I think, than seeing a 1400 plus up there. And then for you guys especially, back in 2010, you were shooting at 1500.
Yes.
Jeffrey Mersch, of course, and Eric Vermelia, they came back in 2013 to win Team All Events. They're leading Team All Events this year with a monster number. Those guys have put on quite a run the last few years. But that was really their first taste of the process and the experience of shooting a monster score, and only to get beat down the road and the ups and downs of that. And at one point, they had a 1500 and a 3500 and no eagles to show for it. But talk about coming in and seeing the leaderboards, and I'm sure now with technology, everybody's keeping an eye on things at home and they know what it's going to take. So it's a little bit different than the old days where you kind of came in and were surprised. But when you come in, we're just looking at the leaderboard and the standings fit in for you guys.
You know, the scores are a lot lower than they were the last couple of years. And the patterns, you know, they're a little bit more flatter, so there's more angles to attack the pocket, but you also have to be very careful on how you attack it, because if you attack them the wrong way, you can get into trouble real quick, real fast. And so seeing the numbers out there, what is posted out there, they're lower, absolutely, but you still got to give your hands off to them guys that are on the leaderboard, because this pattern is probably from the past, I'm just going to guess, probably last three years, how much tougher this year is. And your execution's you got to be on your game, and spare shooting. You got to pick up your spares. Huge thing this year is get your spares. But I guess looking at the top for what we're when we're getting ready to start our quest here at the main event, we're really not concerned about the leaderboard. You know, we got our own game plans of what we want to do, try to execute it, and just make good shots. And again, just make sure we pick up our spares. You know, it's it's challenging.
Well, after you've got a 300 in the books, so a 299, an 800 series, and a 1500 doubles total, a little extra confidence coming in, especially, you know, when 1372 is your number?
Yeah. Having recorded some good scores out here, it helps a little bit, knowing, you know, that if they succeeded, 1372, I believe is the number. But, you know, it's a different year. And the confidence, it does help a little bit, knowing, you know, what I've accomplished out here on the lanes in prior seasons. But then again, you know, it's a tougher pattern, and, you know, got to really be on the game this year. But yeah, the confidence does help.
All right, and where you come from, of course, up in Minnesota, a lot of Eagles have flown that way over the years, and we saw a couple go that way in 2006. Of course, we're watching right now, Dave Mitchell took home the All Events title, and Team All Events went that way to Sam Lanto and the guys that year. So a lot of tradition and history, and I'm sure you've grown up watching some of the top players, the Loons, back in the day, and all their success here at the Open Championships, and now to add your name to that list. How have the goals and the confidence changed coming in after the win?
Really, to be honest with you, not much. Since 2010 and coming back the previous years, it does help in the confidence of coming back here, especially at home, practicing and bowling other tournaments, you know, against guys like Sam Lanto, Dave Mitchell, Clark Poelzer, bowling against these guys that have accomplished that as well. It's learning a lot of information, how they attack patterns, you know, watching them repeat shots, what they do, you know, just trying to watch and observe their environment and how they, you know, when everybody gets into that big striking mode, and that watching what they do and how they handle it is pretty big. But I'd have to say it's it's pretty amazing coming from Minnesota, knowing a lot of Eagles have gone out that way in previous years and current years. It's to be on that leaderboard is really awesome. It's really special to me. It really is.
All right, now we're watching Clark and Carl try to get back onto the leaderboard, and struggling a little bit here early, 202, 192. But any analysis so far, John? What are you seeing out there?
I've been watching them ever since they came on the lanes and practiced, and kind of watching how they're attacking the lanes, and I think they got the right idea, staying to the right. Not probably I'm going to guess around that 6-7 range is where they really need to be, and that way they can give themselves room, especially coming into singles, so that way they don't run out of room going to the right too far. I think they're executing good. Again, you just round objects hitting around things. Weird things are going to happen. But Clark is really rolling the ball very well.
Great shot there. Mixes him up on 18, and Carl close behind watching, taking notes, I'm sure. A lot of teamwork involved, and I know with you and Steve both being left-handed, a great opportunity to communicate there. We don't see a lot of big lefty groups come out this way. There's usually 1 or 2, maybe 3 in a group. But what kind of communication do you guys go through? As we just saw, Carl very closely watching Clark. But how does that work for you guys?
For us on the left side is huge. Very, very huge. I mean, the only downfall is myself and Bone, we have different games, of course. It's very tough to mimic games and stay on top of each other. But Bone is a very, very good direct player. Very, very good. And, I like to bend the ball a little bit more. I consider myself versatile to where I can get close to what Bone can do. But I've tried over the years so many times in so many tournaments that I cannot manipulate what he can do to a ball. But communication is key, by far. And on our team, we have 2 left-handers, myself and Bone, and with 8 other right-handers. But the big thing is our knowledge between the 10 of our guys is very, very, very big. And knowing or just to help with ball reaction, and even mechanics of throwing the ball. If you threw it good, threw it bad, we can help each other and really communicate with each other to, get the job done at hand.
All right, folks, you're watching live coverage from the 2015 USBC Open Championships. We're at the El Paso Convention Center behind lanes 17 and 18. This is Matt Canizaro, and we're joined right now by 2010 regular doubles champ John Cryer. And we're watching our defending doubles champions try to get it done here in 2015. A tough task to climb that leaderboard once again, but they're certainly giving it a run here. A pair of doubles here halfway through game number 2. And they started with 394. They'll need to get to 1372 if they want a chance at repeating. And there's a gentleman on lane 17. Dave Mitchell knows a little bit about that. He took home the All Events title back in 2006. Another exciting high-scoring year. And he also was able to survive a few close calls to take home that title. 2189 was his All Events score that year. That would also be enough to win here in 2015. Right now, Rob Godshaw leading the way at 2181. So we've had some excitement in the past few days, and a lot of celebrations of dedication and success as well. So just a good balance of news coming from the Open Championships, and you can find all of that on bowl.com. Also, remember to find us on Facebook and Twitter for daily highlights, and we'll have some news from the Women's Championships posted here shortly about the defending champions in doubles at that event. Robin Romeo and Jeannie Nakarado bowled yesterday. We'll have the recap of that. They will not repeat, but they certainly had a good time trying, and no doubt we'll hear from them again soon. But right now, it's all about the Poelzers here in El Paso. Again, if you're curious about the lane condition or any other details from this year's event, you can visit bowl.com/openchamp. There's a lane conditions tab, and you can go in there and see that the doubles and singles pattern we're watching right now is 39 feet in length. And there's a graph with all kinds of colors and different information in there to help you understand a little bit better, get a good visual of course, the invisible defense here in our sport. But right now, here is Carl up on lane 18, looking to make it 3 in a row. And a terrific shot right there. We saw another father-son duo in this general neighborhood yesterday. Greg and Joseph Engelkist from Iowa made a run at doubles. Greg started with a 300 game, and they came up just short. Shot 13.05, just missing the top 10. But that really inspired Clark, and it made him kind of have an outside look at what it means for a father and son to compete here, as an 8-pin denying him his own 3-bagger.
Yeah, I know that pin really well. That was the pin that stopped me in 2011 for a 300.
Well, I think the lanes figured you already had one, and the 800 and the eagle, so let's let somebody else have a chance.
I'm totally fine with that.
But I do remember when we chatted back in 2007, the very first one, a very emotional experience for you and a family affair. And I believe the headline was as clever as they come, because there were some tears flowing, of course. A whole lot of family members on site that year, and not a dry eye in sight as Cryer shoots 300 at USBC Open Championships. Talk about that experience and being able to share that with your family.
Oh, that was really unbelievable. And till this day, the more and more I still think about it, it still touches some nerves a lot, because I don't get to bowl very often with my family anymore, because I kind of taken the step in bowling with my tournament team guys right now. So we don't get to do that very much. And my Uncle George finally just said, you know what, we're going to do a family event. We're going to go to Nationals bowl together. And so I departed with my team for a year, and they were bummed, but you know, it was nice family vacation, so we did that, and we had a lot of obstacles that tried stopping us from getting there. And actually, for our team event, our flight landed a half hour before we bowled, so we actually ended up all changing in the bathrooms of the stadium so we could get ready to bowl. But came back for doubles and singles in that first game in doubles. I threw the ball really, really well, and then all of a sudden I looked up, I'm like a front 8, front 9, and that 10th frame was just, it was on pure adrenaline. And knowing that my uncle has never been really a part of a highlight like that, and then usually, you know, you get nervous about something like that, and when I stepped up for the 12th shot, and I had no adrenaline, I couldn't even tell you what was going through my mind, except for I wanted this one for my uncle, and I probably threw the best shot out of the 12 in the 12th shot. It was just unbelievable, and they went down, and to share the moment with my family was just unbelievable, totally unbelievable. And unfortunately, a few years later, I lost my aunt that was out there with us to cancer, and so it the more and more I think about it, it really, really touches the nerve a little bit, and knowing that she was also a part of that too. But that's definitely one bowling moment I will never forget for the rest of my life.
Well, certainly was glad to be a part of that, and a terrific run for you in your career here since. And those were the days before Facebook and streaming video, and we didn't even have a video camera back then, so things a little different. And of course, we'll always have those stories to tell, and you were featured on bowl.com with your family, and something that we'll always remember as well. But certainly times have changed, and here we are live streaming from the tournament venue. We're up in the bleachers behind lanes 17 and 18, and we're watching a couple tough breaks here from Clark Poelzer. After the 8-pin on lane 17, now a 7-10 on lane 18. So things definitely not going his way here late in game number 2.
Yeah, it kind of looks like still observing as well, and it looks like they're starting to hit another transition point in the pattern. But I think just kind of watching their other guys, I think they're seeing it as well, and they're doing what they can to make their adjustments.
Well, we saw it very clearly with Junior Team USA support when they bowled doubles and singles. We had them on the live stream, of course. We had defending all events champion Anthony Lacaz in that group, but they struggled a little bit in doubles. Carry really a lot of 4 9s and 9 pins and 8 pins and even a 7-9 from Steve Novak. I'm sure that got a few laughs on the live stream, but they were able to grind through the doubles and some of the transition, and they really opened them up for singles and blasted them pretty good on their way to a 10,064 all events total, who, well, many people think that one might be untouchable, but of course, still a long way to go. A lot of great teams to come this way, but that certainly is a pretty solid number here on these 2 challenging lane conditions in 2015.
Yeah, that's a big number that they put up, and that's great bowling by all them guys. That's pretty phenomenal. And what Anthony Lacaz has been doing the last couple of years is just flat out awesome. Absolutely flat out awesome.
Well, Lacaz now in position to become the 2nd bowler in history to claim titles in 3 consecutive years. Of course, Les Zykes, the first one to do that in the early 1960s. And so just goes to show you how challenging that can be. It almost happened back in the 1990s with Lodge Lanes. They took home back-to-back team all events titles in 97 and 98. Came up a little bit short, finished 2nd in 99. But the run Lacaz has been on, and now for him to be able to share this with his teammates once again, I think he'd rather have it that way. But certainly amazing. And just taking a look at the leaderboards, of course, 33-68 on top of the team event. That number came with a clutch finish by Team NABR. And in doubles, we mentioned 1372, Jeremy Sonnenfeld and Tom Woodworth from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Singles we talked about earlier, Scott Endersby from Waite Park, Minnesota, 785. And the all events leader, Rob Gottschall, former Team USA member, has 2 300 games here at the Open Championships. And he's at 2181. And then that team all events number, 10,064. 3rd consecutive 10,000 for Junior Team USA support. So perhaps the next generation of power teams here at the Open Championships already part of the mix. Got a nice crowd in the chat room today and in person. Appreciate everybody joining us. You're listening to Matt Cannizzaro and 2010 regular doubles champ John Cryer. So things cooling off a little bit here for the Poelzers in the back half of game 2. Again, they started with 394, 202, and 192. A couple bad breaks for Clark. And now back-to-back spares for Carl, so they need to get back to striking if they're going to make a run here in 2015. A lot of pressure, a lot of excitement. And again, they just wanted to make a good showing, put up a decent number. Certainly felt capable, just looking at the pattern and bowling on the showcase lanes, that they certainly could make a run here in 2015. And John, back when you guys were on in 2011, and did bowl well in doubles, and certainly had to feel pretty good about that. But then some excitement unfolded during the broadcast, and by the end of singles, we had turned the cameras, and we saw the team all events title being won by K&K. So I'm sure you guys were peeking over at what they were doing a little bit too during singles.
Oh, absolutely. We had our eyes on them, and actually it was kind of cool that night after team event when they got done. We actually just kind of crossed paths, and we started talking a lot with each other, and just having a good time, meeting new people, and it was pretty neat. And then we get to bowl next to them the next day, and I thought that was pretty special. And what they were putting up was pretty awesome. And yes, our eyes, when we weren't on the approach bowling, we were watching them, and it was pretty sweet. And then actually, Andrew Kane gave us me and Bowen a big thank you, because back then when we switched pairs, and we got done bowling, and Andrew Kane came up to me and he goes, "Thanks for setting up that pair for me." which was felt kind of proud about that. But yeah, watching them guys and striking at will was just unbelievable. And I believe Chris Clerk even shot 299 during that, didn't he?
That's correct. Those guys did not bowl particularly well in the team event, at least by their own goals and standards, but they blasted them pretty well in doubles and singles. And one of the more interesting and exciting performances, certainly. They never counted themselves out, and they just came back the next day. And back in those days, it was the same lane condition. So another thing that's changed here at the Open Championships is now we have a true test of versatility with 2 different patterns, one for team event and one for doubles and singles. So regardless of how you bowl in the team event, it's a new challenge the next day, and you really have to earn it, especially in that team all events category. Those guys all very accomplished and put that team event behind them and came back and made a huge run. We were lucky enough to capture that on BowlTV along with so many other great moments. And if you're just joining us now, or you'd like to look at some of the previous broadcasts from this year, of course you can check out the archives on BowlTV. Just go to youtube.com/BowlTV and find the Open Championships playlist. And so many great things have happened live on BowlTV over the past few years. We actually started doing this in a very different setup back in 2010, and it really has evolved and transitioned into what you see today. So thanks to everybody for joining us for this live coverage again. And here we are getting ready to see the 10th frame of Game 2 of doubles. Clark and Carl Poelzer, defending doubles champs, 1465 last year. It won't take quite that much, at least to grab the lead here in 2015. Clark having some trouble here in the back half of Game 2. Shooting at the 610 right now. 10th frame coming up next. And the chop spare. You mentioned, John, how important spares are this year on this challenging 39-foot pattern. And certainly can't give away any pins.
Yeah, you can't. You got to stay on your spares. Your spare game's definitely got to be good, and of course, you know, when anybody misses a spare, it kind of takes a little wind out of your sails. But anything that's makeable out there, if you can make it, the less pins you can give away, of course, you know, the better score you'll have. And it's the name of the game. Spares, strikes will always be there. Anybody can throw a strike, but make sure you're picking up them spares. And also about the broadcast, thank you for Matt for taking time out of your busy schedule out here to put on these live streams.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I know you guys tune in when you can. And while we hope it was for Aaron and I and the witty banter that everybody was tuning in, we know it's to take a look at some top players and get an idea on how the lanes are playing. But either way, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thank you guys for always chiming in and saying hello. We have a pretty solid schedule this year from the Open and Women's Championships. You can find that by going to bowl.com/openchamp and click on the information tab, and you'll see the live stream schedule at the bottom of the list, and you can see what's coming up next. Later in the week, we'll have 2 talented teams from the East Coast, Buddy's Pro Shop and 123bowl.com, and those guys always in the mix here. 123bowl.com even held on to the highest game in tournament history at one point last year, 1299. Pretty monster score, so we'll see what all those guys have in store for us here this year. And then, of course, we'll have your friend Matt McNeil and his talented team on the broadcast later in the week. So a lot coming up here on BowlTV. So here we are in the 10th frame already, and Carl Poelzer is going to be the first one to take a shot at this final frame. He's working on an open. He'll be up in just a minute. Actually, Clark working on an open as well. All right, here we are. Carl up on lane 18, throws a good shot, and a little bit light for a 4-7. Definitely this year's pattern, a little bit touchy. But as you would hope at the national championship event, the expectation for making good shots and making spares should be there, and you should expect to have a career day in order to take home an eagle here. And while the conditions are challenging, a lot of bowlers glad for the opportunity to bowl on something tough and really earn their scores here. Got a question earlier about how many 3000s we had in the team event. And you can find the leaderboards on bowl.com as well, but about 32 teams have reached that 3,000 mark in the team event. So you gotta feel pretty good to come out, and that's really just even par. Everybody averaging 200. So it won't take much, but definitely have to make your spares. And here's Clark up on 17, shooting at the 10 pin, no problem.
Thank goodness you picked that up, because it seemed like since I mentioned spares, they've been missing them. Hopefully I didn't jinx them.
Don't worry, sir. We've been blamed of far more jinxing. Anytime people see us coming, we've been asked to leave on more than one occasion.
No, it's usually the other way around when you guys are broadcasting. Special things happen. Good special things, I should say.
All right, good shot there by Clark to close things out. And he will finish with 182. Carl finishes with 201. So John, simple math will tell you that there is no room for error here. It'll take 595 this game for the father and son duo to get back to the top of the standings. And that means both of them will need to get at least the first 11.
Well, the good thing is they have a chance.
That's right. We've learned that many times. That as long as it's possible on paper,
it can happen.
And this one a little bit more challenging, but we've certainly seen some some strings of strikes. We saw our defending singles champion, Lewis Jenkins Jr., had the front 10 in doubles. Left a 5-pin on the 11th shot and shot 720. Struggled in singles, of course, as the defending champ. A lot of pressure and bowled, I think, into 560s. Will not repeat. But we've seen our fair share of 300 games on BowlTV by bowlers from Minnesota. So why not today? We've had some close calls the last couple days. I've been running up and down the venue for front 8, front 9. And of course we had the one yesterday, Greg Engelkist, the 4th of the year. So we're already almost halfway done with this year's event. We kicked off on March 7th and we'll be here until July 12th, 128 consecutive days. And we're right around day 60 pretty soon.
It's definitely a great venue out here. It is really cool, and it's always an honor to come out here and bowl. It really is.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the support and everybody coming this way. More than 7,300 teams will be joining us in El Paso before we're done in July. And nearly 40,000 bowlers here to take a crack at those Orange Eagles in 2015. And if you don't have a team, there's still time. You can register until July 11th, or you can check out the subboard either online or on site here in El Paso. And we've heard from a lot of bowlers who said they wish they would have stayed longer. That's how much they enjoyed El Paso and all of the delicious Southwest cuisine. So definitely don't cut your trip short based on anything. But, come on out and see for yourself. Right now, game 3 underway, and both Poelzers starting with strikes here. They're going to need every one of them. 777 through 2. They're going to need 595 here in the finale if they're going to catch Sonnenfeld and Woodworth. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. This is Matt Canizaro being joined right now by 2010 doubles champ John Cryer. And John getting ready for tonight's 5 o'clock team event. Definitely a lot to think about, a lot of strategy, and you guys had your practice session today, and no doubt have an idea what the plan is going to be tonight. You got a few lefties in the mix as well. We certainly won't ask you too much about your strategy. But what are the goals, I guess? I know 3,000, a solid score this year. Has looking at the pattern and some of the scores changed anything as far as the team plans? Or
we did a lot of research back home, a lot of practice. Just doing mental preparations. Can't do much until you get out here and get in the environment until you can really get prepped for that. But on the planes wise, we got a good idea what we want to do. Goals wise, our goal tonight is definitely 3,000. We think we can shoot 3,000 on this. Expectations, we don't want to make them too high so that way we don't press too hard towards the end. But our big thing is just communication between all 10 guys, with mechanics, ball reaction, everything, and our team has been very, very, very good at that, with communicating with one another to help each other out, basically on all aspects of the game. Being on the right side to left side, myself and Steve Bone, our plan of attack is going to be a lot different than what the right-handers are going to be. We've practiced, I'd have to say a dozen times back home on just different ways we want to try to break the lanes down, attack them where we feel we have the best chance at throwing the most strikes. And right-handers are gonna, they got a game plan, and to be totally honest with you, me and Steve Bowens, our game plan is just line up. Not gonna try to burn anything out. We're not gonna try to set up the lanes to ourselves, because just with 2 guys, there's just no way that we can throw enough shots and do something to manipulate the patterns to get them to our advantage. And so we're just going to go out and we're going to line up, but we're going to stay close to each other. So that way, again, I move in a little bit more easier than Steve can. But as long as we can keep our break points and our shapes close to the same, we should be okay.
All right, there you have it. The expert analysis and a simple game plan from a proven champion here. And it's been a few years, so John, I think it's time for another honor score or two.
It would certainly be nice out here on this pattern. These patterns are challenging, and it'd be nice to have one on this.
Well, we'll certainly be ready. We've had 4 300s so far, no left-handers. But no reason you can't be the first. Here's your doubles partner, Steve Bone, checking in. Already got his uniform on. He's ready to go, so I know you wanted to step out pretty soon and go get yourself ready as well. And we appreciate you coming on and joining us today. And then we'll have Aaron Smith come on. We'll talk a little bit about the Poelzers. Mathematically, another title's not going to happen for these guys, but still a nice big game out there in game number 3. So, John, thank you for coming on here. And maybe we'll talk to Steve a little bit during singles. But go ahead and go get ready.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll talk to you after you're done bowling. That's the best time, usually.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you for having me on. And thank you again for all the hard work that you do out here. You deserve a lot of credit, sir.
Appreciate the kind words, sir. John Carter Jr., the 2010 regular doubles champ, will be on the lanes later tonight. You can follow him on X Bowling, and we'll have their doubles and singles tomorrow. Again, if you want to follow along, and hopefully the goal, get your picture taken, get your name on bowl.com. We'll be ready for that. So thanks, John. And in just a minute, we'll have Aaron Smith back on with you for the rest of game number 3.
With you later. Thanks, bud.
All right, so here we have it. We're in game 3 again. Clark Poelzer 202-182, and Carl 192-201. So 777, and with that couple of spares so far, they will not be able to find their way back to the top of the leaderboard. So no second consecutive title for the father and son, but still a decent score out there. And we'll catch up with them after singles today to get their thoughts and feelings on the big day. And here's Aaron Smith.
Hello.
Hello, back on it. So bowlers coming in from all corners of the world here. Minnesota, we got some Floridians now sitting in the bleachers. So the Open Championships, of course, open to all USBC adult members. And we will have visits from all 50 states and several foreign countries before we're done here in 2015. And the Indiana contingent, I saw swinging by a few minutes ago to say hello to Aaron. So you just never know who's going to walk in, and look up at the scoreboards and you can see on any given day many states represented.
Oh, to be fair though, the Indiana contingent is now out of Wisconsin, so they keep taking everything away from us. So
are we taking it away, or are people fleeing the state of Indiana?
Could be both. But after a slower pace in game 2, looking like these guys are all set here in game number 3.
Poelzer's needed 595 coming into game 3, and a tall task, of course.
That is a bit.
And definitely some bad breaks for Clark, especially. An 8-pin, a 710.
And that's something we mention here every time. It's not only do you have to throw the shots, but you need to catch a break or two along the way. And some years those trip 4s and messengers take out 710s, and some years that fortunately isn't the case. I'll say that's my problem every year, but we both know that's a lie. So. Kurt Hankey looking back on track after a rough game 2, 266 in the opener. 5 to start here.
Aaron, looks like you might have your hands full tonight with these top bowlers. I heard from John Cryer and Steve Bowen already, getting ready to go out there for the team event. But looks like Chad Nelson, Dave Langer, and the guys looking to represent Minnesota well. If you want to check out the leaderboards for this year's event, just visit bowl.com/openchamp, and you can see exactly what it's going to take for you to find success here in 2015. And that definitely will start with spares. Make your spares. Don't want to give away any pins, and certainly keep the ball around the pocket.
My lone saving grace this year was not terrible spare shooting.
I can tell you that double 5 count, 3-bagger 5 count, not good for the prize window over at the Bowlers Journal Championships.
Yeah, count also important. I can relate to that my final game of doubles, but you said 3 in a row. That's crazy talk. So.
All right, so game 3 moving along here. Hankey's run came to an end in the 5th with an open in the 6th frame. The Poelzers cooling off a little bit here. Partway through game 3. But definitely a good experience for them. Talked to them a few times this week just about the whole thing. They got their championship watches last night. A special march down center aisle. Got to feel pretty good about that, of course. Their championship banner hanging one pair to the right over lanes 19 and 20. I'm sure they're already thinking about the plans for getting that hung up somewhere in Minnesota.
There's a light hit that goes Clark's way after the stuff 9 in the 6th frame. Carl doesn't get the same hit to Faldo. 8-pin left standing. Again, we appreciate everyone taking some time out of their Wednesday afternoon to join us here on BowlTV. I'm Aaron Smith alongside Matt Cannizzaro. Even though doubles is wrapping up, we'll be here for all the singles as well. So we still have 3 more games with these guys. Although the doubles glory won't be matched like last year. There's still 3 games to bring some excitement and leave their mark on the 2015 event.
Definitely got some new names in the chat room today. Some different folks. Appreciate everybody joining us, and some folks look like they're coming our way to bowl for the very first time this year, so look forward to having you guys. And we got a question here from Brian Roth. Will I be in town this weekend, or am I going to be in Reno? I will be here in El Paso, pretty much stationed here, minus a couple of trips coming up, one to the USBC Queens in May, and a couple of days in Reno at the end of May, early June. Aaron Smith, however, will be headed that way. Aaron, I know you got a couple live streams coming up. How about some highlights on that as we wrap up game number 3 here?
Some highlights on my travels to Reno. Those could be long and take a while. But as far as what we'll have on BowlTV, a great showcase. My first 2 days in town, we'll have the defending Diamond Team Champs, Bowl-Leave and Akir, featuring USBC Hall of Famer Linda Barnes, Team USA's Shannon O'Keefe, past Queens champion Tennille Milligan, and Kendra Gaines, who's the first competitor in Women's Championships history to roll an 800 on the tournament lane. So we'll get to see their team event as they put their team title on the line. And on the following day, we'll see them in action once again for doubles and singles. Linda Barnes also returning as the defending Diamond All Events champion. She has 6 titles in her storied career at the WC. She'll look to add a few more and once again rewrite her legacy at the event. So those will be back-to-back days on May 7th and May 8th. We'll also have one more broadcast while we're there, featuring Lisa Barfield in her team event. Lisa, a talented player out of the Washington State area. So we'll showcase their team on the lanes as well. That'll be May 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. local time in Reno. So those will be the three while I'm out there. Matt will return to the Women's Championships at the end of May with a few showcases. Very talented group featuring Lindsay Boomershine, Alicia Current, and USBC Hall of Famer Tish Johnson. Matt will bring you their doubles and singles in the following day. USBC Hall of Famer Lucy Sandlin will have her team event live on BowlTV, so that's some of the excitement for May at the Women's Championships. Of course, if you want to learn more about what's coming up, bowl.com/livestream for everything you need to know about BowlTV, and of course subscribe to our channel. We need to finish up here today. Check out some of the archive footage from the Open Championships, and of course all the other videos put together by Jason Thomas. A lot of cool stuff there with the Hall of Fame, and of course stay tuned to BowlTV later tonight for the USBC Hall of Fame inductions. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Lucas Wiseman's in Omaha, Nebraska. He'll bring you all that coverage and more. So the fun never stops here on BowlTV.
That was quite the rundown, Mr. Smith. Thanks for sharing all those details. And again, if you didn't take notes, it's okay. That's all available on bowl.com. Check it out. Send us any questions in the chat room, via Facebook, email, you name it. We're pretty hard not to get a hold of. So I told somebody today the only time my cell phone is turned off is if I'm on an airplane or at the movies. So neither of those things happening anytime soon. So glad to answer any questions if you would like to reach out at any point.
You know, Matt, while I was in Reno for the opening of the Women's Championships, we had a few guest speakers, and one of them was the mayor of Reno. And she actually gave out her phone number to the bowlers of the Women's Champions and said, if you need anything, here's my number. So there's the Hospitality Reno showing. So I feel you should do the same thing right now for our BowlTV audience and just give them your phone number, and so they can contact you at all times, because your phone's on at all times. Sound like a plan?
I'm going to probably not do that, but certainly not hard to find. It's on the top of every news release we send out.
So you're saying it's not 867-5309?
No. Jenny moved out last year.
And for those of you who still have the sound on, we appreciate it.
It's only 2:47 in the afternoon. It's not like we're doing a 3 a.m.er here and getting loopy and giddy. But we appreciate everybody sticking around. The Poelzers appreciate it as well. These two gentlemen, father and son, without a doubt appreciate everything that has come their way in the last year, from the moment they took the lead to all the accolades and congratulations, and of course coming in as the defending champions, true champions in my book for sure. And looking forward to talking to them a little bit later today, and we'll have a wrap up for you on bowl.com tonight.
Definitely not the finish Kurt was hoping after that strong start here in Game 3, but 2:16, 6:41 in the books.
All right, Mr. Smith, here we are, the final few shots of this title defense for Clark and Carl Poelzer. It's been a tongue twister since they took the lead last year. It certainly has been fun. I'm sure they enjoyed hearing each broadcast where they still were the leaders in the doubles event. A lot of great bowlers came through after they were done. A couple close calls. It's all part of the experience, though. Experience much sweeter when you're still the leader when the tournament ends. Carl, 191 here in Game 3, so he went 192, 201, 191 for 584. Clark still with a couple shots left. Most of the house already in singles, and we'll have that for you coming up in just a couple of minutes. Here comes Carl Poelzer up into the bleachers. Wanted to say hello to a couple of people.
Bookend 202s with a 182 in the middle for Clark Poelzer. Gives him a 586, a very consistent set for the father and son duo. Putting their final total at 1170. Dave Mitchell already in the books, 219. see David Bordson finish up here. He's putting together a nice finale. Bordson was actually chronicling the march down center aisle yesterday. Brought a camera from home and was capturing the moment for the Poelzers. I'm sure an excited time for a lot of folks back in Arden Hills and the surrounding area.
All right, well, as we get ready for singles, time for a station identification, and we'll go ahead and thank our gold sponsors as well, Columbia 300, Hammer Storm, and Kegel, for making all of this possible here in 2015. I will step away for a moment. Aaron Smith will hold down the fort, and singles will be underway in just a minute. Thanks for joining us today here on BowlTV.
All right, these guys wasting no time, already in a singles competition. We'll see how their strategy during doubles works out in singles here. So they have 3 more games on 17 and 18. So again, we want to thank everyone for joining us here on a Wednesday afternoon in El Paso, Texas. We appreciate the continued support, and please share on your social media. You're tuning in to BowlTV today. We definitely appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow USBC, of course, Sport of Bowling is on Facebook, facebook.com/USBC, on Twitter, at USBC on Twitter. And of course, the one-stop shop for it all, bowl.com. Don't forget to stay tuned in to BowlTV later on tonight for the USBC Hall of Fame inductions. These are taking place in Omaha, Nebraska with the USBC convention. Lucas Wiseman will bring you the action from that. There's Larry Lobb, Liz Johnson, Sam Lanto, Gus Yanaris and Fritz Iran all get enshrined tonight. That'll start at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on BowlTV. had a question in the chat room about the ITC highlights and whether or not they're coming soon. Those shows will actually begin to air next week, less than a week, starting May 4th on the CBS Sports Network and airing every Monday until all the shows are complete. May 4th will feature the Women's Singles Championships. May 11th will feature the Men's Singles. The Women's ITC Finals will be on May 18th. And the Men's ITC Final, May 25th. Once again, all on CBS Sports Network, all starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, so be sure to check your local listings.
All right, Aaron Smith, tell us something exciting as we watch game 1 of singles here. You got to have some news, some scores, some updates, something? Anything?
Oh, you're talking to me. Well, you can see what's going on the lanes right now. 785 the number these guys are chasing. We just finished posting a story to bowl.com about over at the Women's Championships. We had our defending Diamond Doubles champions and USBC Hall of Famers Jeannie Nacarado and Robin Romeo in town. So we posted a recap. They will not defend their title, but always excited to see those two make it out. And they'll actually be here at the Open Championships a little bit later on, bowling with USBC soon-to-be Hall of Famer Liz Johnson, just hours away from it happening. It will really happen.
But definitely a lot happening in the bowling world this week, so thank you all for joining us here on BowlTV, and perhaps you're going back and forth between our broadcast and Lucas Wiseman's. He is on the road in Omaha, bringing you all the news from convention, and as Aaron said, Hall of Fame inductions coming up tonight. Very deserving players. Liz Johnson, Larry Lobb, Gus Unaris. Now, 4 players on his team will be in the Hall of Fame, so that's got to be a pretty cool feeling. Fritzy Ron, big name in Women's Championships history, 8 titles at the WC. That's all right.
You got one more person, Matt.
My good buddy Sam Lanto, we'll see him at the end of the week. Rounds out the 2015 Hall of Fame class. The OC and WC or USBC performance category, performing well here in 2015. Sam will be the 2nd Hall of Famer on his team, joining Todd Savoy. Got to see him in his induction on the tournament lanes actually back in 2005. So that was pretty cool when the tournament used to be tied to the ABC convention as it was in those days. So quite the soiree we had in Baton Rouge that year.
Not bad for a first rodeo.
It's a pretty solid year. Decided to stick around for a couple more. And of course things structured a little bit differently. And we definitely enjoyed being a part of the Hall of Fame ceremony the last 2 years in Reno. So congratulations to all of those bowlers. And perhaps, Mr. Smith, you are laying the groundwork for a spot in the live streaming Hall of Fame someday. So best of luck. I'll be the first to submit your nomination form when necessary.
All right, once they open up the Lucas Wiseman Hall of Fame Emporium, I'll send you my credentials. Nice break for Clark there, Carl, excuse me, getting his first strike of singles. Oh no, I had it all mixed around. Carl hasn't missed on 17. Clark's still looking for his first strike.
Well, Mr. Smith, if only there was a way to know who was who and who was up on each lane.
If only they had arrows.
Something for the suggestion box. Some way to identify when it's your turn and which lane to bowl on.
However, my mess up could not will over that 4-pin, so Clark still looking for his first strike here. Nice shot by Dave Mitchell, the 2006 All Events champion. He's liking lane 17 as well right now. Still looking for the right combo on 18. Number up on top in regular singles, 785. Scott Endersby out of Waite Park, Minnesota.
Scott had a nice performance while I was getting the live stream ready for
Artistic Expressions 1.
Sounds about right. Our defending team champion. I'm trying to remember where I was in the venue, but Scott bowled somewhere around 23 and 24. So that sounds about right. We were in this general area and got to watch him finish his last game with 7 strikes for 279 and to catapult into the lead. So very cool to see him step up in such a clutch fashion, just like we saw in our team event with Team NABR. The last 3 bowlers on that roster striking out in the 10th, or at least throwing a double to get him to that top spot. So a lot of excitement, a lot of drama on our leaderboards this year. And it's not too late for a little bit more here on our featured pair right now, 17 and 18 here at the El Paso Convention Center. So Aaron, we've managed not to say National Bowling Stadium or Reno, Nevada at all so far on our broadcast. And how many times are you going to say El Paso when you're in Reno next week?
Never. What are you talking about? We talk about Reno all the time on here. It's crazy talking Matt Canzaro. Unless you're referring to us referring as the 2015 Open Championships being at the National Bowling Stadium
that
in
is
Reno,
correct.
Nevada.
Yes, sir.
Then yes, so far so good.
We've made it about halfway. This year's event kicked off March 7th. 128 consecutive days, wrapping up on July 12th. So thanks to everybody for joining us, especially the newcomers and friends of our Minnesota contingent here. Got about 2.5 games left, and then we'll get a chance to talk to the Poelzers about coming in as the defending champs and what it was like out there bowling under that banner and seeing those Orange Eagles for the first time.
Nice conversion of the wash up by Carl to stay clean so far in singles.
So we had fellow Minnesotan John Cryer Jr. on a little while ago to talk doubles and Open Championships, and
he's done all right in that event.
He's had a good run the last few years. Well, going back to 2007 with his first 300 game. They'll be on the lanes tonight at 5 o'clock for the team event. And Clark Poelzer requested that we chat with Chad Nelson if he becomes available during today's broadcast. So should he swing by, we'll definitely get him on to get some thoughts. You can check out Chad's performance. I believe it was 2012. Bowls with the Locker Guy team. We had them on BowlTV.
It's 2013, Matt, I think.
Haha. See, it's all running together. I know there was one year where we broadcasted their squad, but not them because we'd already committed, and we watched them bowl well on the other side of the house. But we did get them on eventually. So, so many great players getting their due here on BowlTV.
Only there was a way to figure out who was right.
Well, more than likely, you're going to be right, because that seems to be how things work in my old age, the way I remember things. It is possible we were broadcasting like the O'Keefes or somebody in 2012 and saw them to our right. And then we visited with Bach and Nelson the next year in 13. So there you have it. They caught our attention and then found their way onto the live stream schedule.
So what you're really saying is that I was right.
I'm saying you were indeed correct.
All right, good day.
And then we were able to explain the whole process from 2012 and to how they got on the air on 2013. And of course that glorious 2011. Oh wait. That was the year that wasn't for Mr. Smith. A 1-year hiatus. Trying to find himself in the streets of Indiana. Decided to come on back in 2012 and rejoin the team here at USBC. And now here we are at the El Paso Convention Center watching Clark and Carl Poelzer bowl singles. Clark just recorded his first strike here in the singles event. And game 1 coming to a close shortly.
Clark liked the first one so much, he said, let's do that again. First double of singles. Carl still only wants the ball on lane 17. And Terry Bigham joining in the action. Sending his hellos from Texas.
As long as he's not sending the pink slips.
Said those were in the mail. Dave celebrating a double. He finally figures out 18 for. This guy's trying to finish up strong. little bit of a rough start in doubles for Terry Halita. He's going to be in the 220s to kick off his singles effort. Kind of a strange hit there for Carl. Looked like he's going to mix him up pretty well, and 410 was up there for a second, just the 10.
Just trying to keep it interesting here for the fans in Minnesota. Not a bad first game, and things shaping up here at the end for Clark as well. So not a bad clean game for Carl Poelzer. Not a lot of room if he wants to take home a singles title. But 30 clean award, not too shabby either, should that be in his future. Nice finish for Clark, 203. After an open in the first and a string of spares. Good scores for Dave Mitchell, 229, and Terry Halita, 225.
Wardson still has 236 out there with a few strikes. Slaps out the 10 to get the first one. Great finish from Bortson. Gets to 236.
And just like that, game 2 getting underway. So 2 more games of singles. Once again, the leader, 785, Scott Endersby from Wade Park, Minnesota. All events 2181. Not sure we're gonna see anybody make a run at that today. You're watching live coverage of the 2015 Open Championships with Matt Cannizzaro and Aaron Smith. And this 39-foot doubles and singles lane condition, if you'd like to see what it's all about before taking part in the Open Championships, of course you can visit the showcase lanes and compete in the Bowlers Journal Championships. That event features this doubles and singles lane condition and the opportunity for you to take home some prize money in doubles and singles events. A variety of divisions based on age and skill level. And if you'd like your team to have a chance to work on strategy and game plan, showcase lanes also being used for team practice sessions. You can book those through the Open Championships page on bowl.com. 1 hour will get you a pair of lanes for $150. $75 if you have 5 or less people and only want 1 lane. So definitely check that out. Our next live stream broadcast will be May 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's our 5 p.m. team event here in El Paso. Buddy's Pro Shop and 123bowl.com. So 2 talented teams, a couple former Team USA members, and past record holders. So for you East Coast fans, should be a very entertaining broadcast. And then we'll be back the next night. Another team event. USBC Hall of Famer Sam Lanto. He'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight in Omaha, Nebraska. Then we'll head this way to compete. So May 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Lanto, McNeil, Savoy, and the crew from Minnesota. So definitely check that out. Going back to 2013, 2 different lane conditions here at the Open Championships. 1 for a team event and another for doubles and singles. And with that, fresh oil for every single squad. And we went from 4 on a pair to 6 on a pair for some of our older participants or those who just want to enjoy the experience a little bit more. It slows down the pace of play a little bit and gives the teams a little bit more of a chance to work together in doubles and singles as well. And introduced here in 2015, a brand new schedule at the Open Championships. No bad squad times. So first squad hits the lanes at 9 a.m. Last squad starts at 8:30. We'll be off the lanes by midnight or so. Give you much more time to enjoy what this fine host city has to offer. Right now we're enjoying a little singles action with Clark and Carl Poelzer, as well as 2006 regular all events champion Dave Mitchell. So sit back and enjoy the rest of singles. If you missed any of today's broadcast, you can check out the archives on BowlTV at any point later, as well as all the other exciting broadcasts from this year's event. And question in the chat room, rumors out that Norm Duke is bowling the OC this year. And I'm pretty sure that is the case. And we should see him sometime in June. We'll have more details on that as that approaches. Norm did end up winning on tour during this recent season, so it'll be a one and done for him. But it'll be cool to see Norm experience this event and this venue. Another talented player we're going to see for the first time in many, many years, Jason Couch. Once again eligible for the Open Championships. So we'll see him actually about 10 days from now. So keep an eye on Facebook and Twitter for tidbits about that. Aaron Smith now back in the booth and bringing news.
Is that my cue?
Well,
well, from what I can see very, very far away on lane 46, it's like... Man, you might want to help me with the last name, but...
are we talking about Jim Pensack?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say Pensack at all. So, but that's who I was referring to. Looked like 247 in the opener and front six to start game two.
Well, if you're watching along at home, you can check out the scores tab on the Open Championships page on bowl.com. bowl.com/openchamp, and you can find a link to X Bowling. And X Bowling will allow you to follow the live scoring from the venue. And Jim on lane 46. He is now up. So he got the 7th one. So should he continue striking, I think it'll be easiest for me to escape the booth.
You are much more agile than you look.
It's because I do push-ups. Pensack, a team champion here back in 1985. Aaron Smith wasn't doing much back in those days.
Crawling, maybe?
Crawling and probably watching the best football season that you've ever seen.
Ferris had already won the Super Bowl by then, so it's been all downhill since then.
So game 2 here in singles going much like game 1 for Clark Poelzer. 4 spares to start. Perhaps Pensac stealing all the strikes down on the high end. Nice shot there on 18 by Carl.
Big move to the right. Bortson has improved every game. It's definitely looking pretty comfortable out there now.
Of course, we're here today because Clark and Carl Poelzer were the defending doubles champions here. And they came up a little bit short. Aaron, how about a recap of their double scores?
Sure, Matt. For Clark and Carl, a very even performance on their part. A little bit under last year's pace, though. Clark leading the way, 586. Carl, 2 pins behind, a 584 for 1170. Kurt Hankey and Terry Halita were actually high on the pair, 1175, so they got him by a few pins. And then Mitchell and Bortson, Mitchell 586, Bortson 548 for 1137. So those were the scores from doubles. Once again, these guys, the whole group actually put on a pretty nice show in the doubles portion. Carl continued strong into singles. Shooting a 729. He ended up 2155 overall for the year. He had 665 in team events, so definitely a standout performance on his part to bring his tournament career average to 204. Getting reports that Pensick had the front 7 last game as well, before he finished up with 246, so it looks like he's up to 8 down there. Once again, bowling on lane 46. Looks like Jim's run came to an end in the 9th frame. 270 still out there, though. So the waiting game continues for Scott Endersby. 785, the number on top in singles.
So Aaron, interesting fact here for no reason at all. I was just looking up a past participant to get a couple details from the 2009 event. And I don't know why I'm shocked, but there's a surprising amount of teams named Split Happens here at the Open Championships.
It's funny because it almost sounded like you said a word you're not supposed to say. Instead, it was a bowling term. And then that bowling term happens.
Happens to some of us more than others. But yeah, probably not going to find what I was looking for with so many team members of Split Happens and then Split Happens 2 and Split Happens 3.
It happens 3 times. You should probably do something different out there on the lanes, or ball change, or make a move.
Unless your name is Lewis Jenkins Jr., then you just ride it out and you win singles.
That's true.
Lewis Jenkins Jr. last year in doubles was in the 520s. Kind of ran out of options and just did what he was doing and went back in singles and everything came to him. Didn't move, didn't change balls, and shot 826 on the way to the title. So that forever is going to be a great story for us to tell.
Past the halfway point in game number 2 of singles. Clark and Carl Poelzer brought us here after the performance at the National Bowling Stadium in 2014. Went on to capture the regular doubles title, 1465. They fell a little bit short of that number, but put a nice consistent performance up there on their way to 1170. 1372, the number on top in doubles so far this year. The number in singles is 785.
Looks like Pensac finished with 279, so 247, 279. Should be 526, and he'll need 259 to get a piece of the lead here in singles. Should make an interesting afternoon for us, Mr. Smith. As we'll definitely be talking to the Poelzers at the completion of singles. And of course, getting all the live stream gear safely put away so that we don't have some rogue broadcasts from some of the bowlers. They've told us, feel free to leave the headsets and we'll take a break and we'll take over. Occasionally it's nice to get some insight from other competitors headed this way. Had John Cryer Jr. on earlier. Spent some time on a previous broadcast talking to Pete Thomas, Ted Pritz from the record-holding Artistic Expressions team.
Had Rob Gottschall and Adam Barta from our regular team leading team NABR during the Lewis Jenkins title defense.
So we'll always put it out there if you're headed our way and feel like maybe you can add something to our live stream broadcast, or you're just tired of hearing me and Aaron, which is a pretty good possibility. Feel free, come on by, check things out. Say a few words to the folks at home. We're getting the heads up right now from our center desk workers about Jim Pensac. 5:26 after 2, needs 259 for a share of the lead here in 2015. We'll keep an eye on that down on lane 46. You can follow along on X Bowling. So 785, the top number in singles. Scott Endersby. No doubt he's been watching the leaderboards a little bit for the past couple weeks. It's been a little over 2 weeks since he took the lead. Had a couple close calls. Had one earlier today. We had one on our Lewis Jenkins Jr. live stream broadcast. So the number is certainly reachable. It's going to take a fantastic performance on a very challenging lane condition.
Not sure if you ever heard that conversation. We were chatting with David Harris, one of our lane monitors. He actually said Pensac went 278 in game number 2, so we'll actually need 260 in the finale. Looks like he started off with a strike. Make it 3 in a row for David Bortson out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Mentioned earlier that David was the on-site photographer for Carl and Clark yesterday as they made their honorary march down center aisle and received their championship watches. And so very cool of him to bring the equipment along for such a special moment. You never know when it's going to happen again, or Great shot there by Clark. The 9 pin's a bit stubborn.
So Aaron Pensack with a 7 count in the second frame. So 280 max right now. Not much room to play with. Eric Pearson, our head lane technician, staring at us from a distance. Get ready to get the lanes oiled for the 5 o'clock team squad. This year we have 5 Kegel Flex lane machines. Pretty sweet. I understand they run about $35,000, so pretty fancy pieces of machinery. There's 13 in existence with the custom red, white, and blue eagle motif airbrush paint job. Got 5 here. They're also at other USBC events this year. And the 13 will be auctioned off at the end of the year. All of the benefits going to, all the proceeds going to benefit Folds of Honor. Nice charity to help military families with scholarships and other needs. So very cool to be a part of that. But if you're in town, check out the lane machines while they're getting things done. They walk from lane to lane by themselves, completely cordless. All Eric has to do is wheel it out there, put it down, and it does all the work for him. So that's kind of how we are here. I help Aaron wheel out the live stream gear, and then he does all the work.
It's very true.
So very, very similar from department to department.
So you're saying you're the brawn of this organization?
I'm something. That's a pretty cool responsibility, though. And Aaron, I know your eyes aren't quite as good as my old peepers here, but 6 count for Pensack in the 3rd frame.
So with a spare there, it would leave very little room for error down the stretch. 6 counts always tricky here.
Well, the 7 count and the 6 count. So yeah, he's gonna need the rest of them all the way to the fill ball. Again, lane 46 if you'd like to check X bowling.
Poelzer is going to be in the 2 teens with good count here. After a nice 225 in the opener. .211 the final tally after the split on the fill ball. Clark finishes off game 2, 187. Clean 187. So just the 2 strikes that game. But avoided any major mistakes along the way. He's making the turn at 390. Haleda 436. Dave Mitchell can get up to 452 with 3 in the 10th. Gordson with a spare and strike, 454. .185 for Carl gives him a 384 at the turn. .217 in the books for Bordson. As Mitchell finishes up 203, so game 2 in the books.
So for Jim Pensack down on lane 46, his run has come to an end. An 8 count in the 5th frame. That would give him a 246 max score now. And 772 is all he can muster up here. That would be a good 4 or 5 games for you and me, Mr. Smith.
Solid point there, Matt.
We had a nice run earlier, and we'll see if the leaderboards are updated.
.762 in singles.
That's the one I was talking about.
I believe it's already up there. It was Daryl Gurdon, I believe, out of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. 238, 276, 248 to move into 5th. With once again 762.
That's exactly the one I was referencing. Happened just to our left as we were setting up. He was down on 5 and 6, I believe. Right now we're behind lane 17 and 18 here at the 52 lane El Paso Convention Center setup. And of course, 10 additional showcase lanes off to the left of lane 1. But definitely a high-scoring couple of days here. A lot of possibilities and close calls, including 1-300 game yesterday by Greg Engelkiss. And a lot of talented bowlers in the building for the 5 o'clock team squad. So Aaron Smith will have his eyes on the lane viewer while he's chowing down on his street tacos or chicken tenders after this broadcast.
You are bringing me dinner, right?
Certainly. Some great options right outside the venue at the Strike Zone food truck, as well as inside.
And you're buying, right?
On the spot. How about that, Mr. Smith? I'm trying to think of some clever comeback or some reason why you already owe me 1 or 2, but
Well, those are for specific kinds of meals, though. So
That's true. Speaking of which, let's to change the subject. We have reinstated fantasy team all events for 2015. Happened just the other day. For those of you who are not familiar, last year, Aaron and I tried to make a thing, and that was fantasy team all events. We did a round robin draft. I guess in this case it'd be a back and forth since there was only 2 of us. But we drafted teams from Open Championships competitors. We each picked 5 players, and then a 6th player who was a less accomplished, kind of a dark horse, either an up-and-comer or somebody who is very experienced and maybe not at the peak of their career at this point. And we each picked our 6 players, and Aaron destroyed me. I don't even think it was close. It was 700 or 800 pins I lost by.
destroyed is a kind word there.
So Aaron's team would have set the team all-eventer record here at the Open Championships. I believe the number was 10,616.
That is correct. I'm pulling it up on my phone right now.
And my number well below 10,000.
You were only 20 pins off. So.
But we didn't get around to drafting again here in 2015. And the plan was to pick new teams and not be able to reuse any of the players. But we decided that we would simply stick with the same teams for a second consecutive year. And it's a lot closer so far with Aaron with 4 players already in the books here. And I have a couple coming up this week, so looking forward to that. And we will do our best to make it a thing in 2016 and maybe get some others involved, or maybe find somebody who's interested in running fantasy team all events and making it a real thing. So keep an eye out for that.
And another victory for me as well.
So confident when it's not your own ability on the line.
Very true. But it does help having the current all events leader anchoring your team. So.
Well, I'm hoping that my 2-time all events winner can step up, as well as Mr. Brian O'Keefe, who is ready for a breakout year. I knew it. He wants to make his McKendree Bearcats proud. So I'm sure he's been practicing since the collegiate season recently ended.
Yeah, I got to see Brian and Shannon at the ITCs in Wichita, Kansas just a few weeks ago. Always a pleasure seeing them. And always a contender out here at the Open Championships too. And we already mentioned Shannon, part of the winning team at the Women's Championships last year. We'll have them on BowlTV May 7th. These guys have been around the pocket a lot today, and scores not necessarily reflecting it.
So Aaron, we already got one taker for fantasy team all events, Chris Shipman. He said, "I'm game." I don't know if he was volunteering to run the whole thing or just to be a part of it, but we'll see. I know Chad Moss actually expressed interest when he was here, right before he took the all events lead.
That'd be a solid draft pick as well. So,
well, we certainly could have drafted many teams out of the 40,000 plus bowlers we'll see this year. Just something to have a little bit of fun here during our 128-day run at the Open Championships. Kick things off March 7th. And except for a few trips off-site for us, we'll be here for the entire run until July 12th. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us here on today's live broadcast. We know there's a lot going on in the bowling world and BowlTV today, so thanks for stopping by. Matt Canizaro and Aaron Smith live at the 2015 Open Championships here in El Paso, Texas. We know Clark and Carl Poelzer appreciate it as well.
Looks like Pensick can get into the 220s with the double in the 10th. So he'll be right on the cusp of the top 10. Great shot by Clark there for a double. Once again, just a pretty awesome experience in the past few days to check out. We got to see Greg Engelkiss and his father Joe bowl doubles, and Greg started their event with a 300, so that's a moment those two will get to share for a long, long time, and same for the Poelzers getting to march down center aisle a little bit thereafter. Get to see the Orange Eagles next to their name for the first time together. And even though the tile defense came up a little bit short, I think this will be something they'll certainly cherish many years down the road. Last time a father and son duo won here at the Open Championships for doubles, or regular doubles. 1977, Bob Roy and Walt Roy out of Colorado. ended up taking home the title with a 13-18 score. So it had been a while, but something fun to see, and we'll be looking forward to talking to them afterwards and see how the whole experience went down.
So Aaron, unofficially, Jim Pensack finishes with 740 down on lane 46. Not a bad run in singles. I'm not sure what he had in team or doubles, but that's certainly going to be a nice payday for him.
Yeah, it looked like team and doubles had a little bit of struggles. Game 2 seemed to give him a little bit there. So, but yeah, 740 to end the tournament, always good. Another great shot from Clark there. And welcome to the Waz joining in the chat room. The Bowler Show on Sundays. Matt Canizaro, a frequent visitor. He has his own theme music. I don't know how he pulled that one off, but congrats.
I think I promised him a locker token or something that I have really no control over. But it sounded good at the time. And, well, we've been at it ever since. Every Sunday at 5:40 Central-ish, I make my appearance on the Bowler Show, and every Wednesday the Let's Go Bowling Show. So any opportunity to talk about bowling and of course these great USBC events in our fine host cities, well, I do enjoy talking. So I appreciate those opportunities. Hopefully adding some value to one or both shows. Always the goal.
All right, I think Clark's ready for 6 more after this. Saw him holding his back out there a little bit earlier, but looks like everything is doing all right now. Carl getting in on the action too. shot from Mitchell to wrap up the 7th frame. 2006 All Events champion. Matt Cannizzaro, you were there. 2006 Corpus Christi. David Mitchell posting 21.89 to secure the eagle.
If I'm not mistaken, that was another late night performance, the 11:30 squad. And again, some interesting calls, close calls that year. The one that always comes to mind for me is Mike Nape going open in the last 2 frames of singles to finish at 21.62. Could have gave Mr. Mitchell a run, but we certainly had a lot of fun that year, of course. 34.96, the winning team score. A monster from Browning Pontiac. And the doubles title that year went to El Paso native Bobby Stives and Paul Yoder from Albuquerque. So we'll see Bobby later this year. They've been doing some practicing here on the showcase lanes. Singles, of course, an exciting finish as well. A reminder to make your spares. Mr. Norm Titus missed a few single pins and came up short. Wendy McPherson with a 300 game and 8-12 series to win it all on the second to last day of the tournament. So a lot of great memories from 2006. And of course our soon-to-be Hall of Famer Sam Lanto took home the Team All Events title that year. So one of my favorite events, certainly Corpus Christi in my top 3 as far as host cities. And I'm sure it is in Dave Mitchell's top 3 as well.
And folks, I'll assure you he just rattled off all that information without a yearbook or looking at files on bowl.com, but when you live through it, it's got to be memorable.
Well, that was my first year at the helm of this media relationship. I was an understudy the year before, working with Lucas Wiseman, showing me the way, and then we evolved and expanded things in 2006 and had a very memorable tournament.
One pair to our right, Jason Smith looking to end his 2015 run on a strong note. Opened in the first frame, struck in the second, sparing the third, and hasn't missed since. Got the first strike at the 10th, 258 still out there after games of 219 and 189. kick and a messenger doesn't get the 10 pin out for Boardson. Kurt Hankey kicks off the 10th frame with a strike. As we prepare for our final few shots here for this group out of Minnesota.
So if you're a Jason Smith fan out there, not a bad performance here in singles. One pair to our right. 219, 189, 245 for 653.
We'll have our final shots here from the Poelzers. Good shot by Carl. Kind of sums up the day though. Stuff in the 9-pin.
Well, Mr. Smith, regardless of how they performed this year or today or next year, they always will have those orange eagles next to their names on the scoreboard. They will always be the father and son who took home the doubles title in 2014. And I think in talking to Clark, you'll understand how much that means to him. Again, as he said, even just having a good performance, not even taking the lead or winning would have been awesome. But they accomplished so much more, and they'll get to celebrate that again when their banner arrives in Arden Hills, Minnesota, sometime in late July. We'll take our final look here at the father and son, Carl Poelzer on the left right now. Final shot of the 2015 event. Clark's going to start his 10th frame on lane 18 right now.
Another great shot and not so great result. Staring at the 8-pin. Looks like this year Clark will get bragging rights over Carl. Carl in the book 17:37 with a strike here. Clark will finish up 18-12. $18-10, a nice round number. After 6:03.
Well, sir, anything with an 18 in it is pretty respectable here, especially in 2015.
David Bortson will finish out our telecast here today. Gets the crumbler. Still finish at 213, 666. So still out there.
We've got a celebrity sighting here in the audience. Aaron Smith has no idea who I'm pointing at, but everybody knows the sports information director for LSU basketball and one of the finest bowling riders, Mr. Kent Lowe from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, stopping by.
Saw him by the stairs over there?
That is him by the stairs. And believe this or not, Aaron Smith, Mr. Lowe has covered bowling for decades and remembers the women's championships back in 1993 very well, and the Open Championships in 05, of course. Did not make his Open Championships debut until 2012 when we returned to Baton Rouge. Kind of strange, but kind of awesome that he was hooked and has been to every event since. Here he is, and here we go. That was our final shots here for Clark and Carl Poelzer and company. Dave Mitchell finishes up with 207 for 639, and unless you have some additional numbers for us here, Mr. Smith, we're going to wrap things up and get packed up here. We appreciate everybody joining us here on today's broadcast. The Poelzers appreciate it as well. The defending regular doubles champions will not repeat here in 2015, but a good run and some great memories made here in El Paso. We appreciate everybody joining us. This is Matt Cannizzaro alongside Aaron Smith. That's for news. The news for now, folks. We'll see you on the lanes.